Welcome to Interlagos, Sao Paulo, home of the Brazilian Grand Prix. This is Ayrton Senna territory. The fans, the Paulistas, are passionate about their motor racing. They've come hoping to see the coronation of the youngest world champion ever, 24-year-old Fernando Alonso.
He's had the look of a star since he was a toddler. Fernando was just 3 when he competed for the first time. He was a natural-born racer. Put him behind a steering wheel at any age and in any machine, he's transformed into a single-minded winner. Spanish junior kart champion at 9, world junior karting champion at 15. Super cool, his toys have never been thrown out of the pram.
Fernando Alonso, he has his 4th Grand Prix victory.
Alonso's always kept his emotions under control. His Renault scored big early in the season. Alonso comes to Brazil leading Kimi Raikkonen by 25 points. If he finishes on the podium, he's the new champion. Raikkonen has to score at least 5 more points to keep the title race alive heading to Japan and China. Alonso's aged 24 and 58 days. The Brazilian Emerson Fittipaldi is the youngest current world champion. He was 25 and 271 days when he won the title back in 1972. In qualifying, Raikkonen locks up horribly, approaching the Senna S's. The mistake cost the best part of a second. It pushes the McLaren down to the 3rd row. Alonso's boss, Flavio Briatore and Renault, claim pole. Alonso, the only man in the 111s. His teammate Fisichella is right behind him. Here's your full grid from Tony Jardine.
Alonso takes his first pole since Silverstone, shutting out Montoya, who won from 2nd last year. A vital 3rd for Renault and Fisichella. Whilst Button struggled with a headwind, he still took 4th. Raikkonen's lock-up cost him pole. He has to fight from 5th. Klein, superb, equals his best, 6th. Schumacher, 7th for Ferrari. His 06 teammate Massa, 8th alongside him. Careful Felipe. 9th Barrichello, starting his 13th home Grand Prix. 10th Ralf Schumacher. 11th Villeneuve. 12th, rookie Montero, his best qualifying yet. 13th, Webber. 14th, Pitsonia, the villain of Spa. And 15th, Coulthard's Red Bull. 16th, Narain Kartikeyan's Jordan. And on the 9th row, Albers and Trulli's Toyota suffering a 10-place penalty for an engine change. And on the last row, Dornbos, he spun off, while Sato takes a 10-place penalty for lashing out and Schumacher in Spa, and he aborted his lap.
So Fernando Alonso on pole, trying to become the first Spanish world champion. A warning though, the Interlagos pole sitter hasn't won since Mika Hakkinen back in 1999. Enjoy the best of the Brazilian Grand Prix with Martin Brundle and James Allen.
Slow forming up, James. That's a big problem for those on the front of the grid. When the tail end was sorting, it looked like one of the Toyotas was slightly out of position. Now they're on their slots, apart from Villeneuve, of course, who's in the pit lane, along with Montero.
So, 71 laps of Interlagos. Raikkonen, Montoya and Alonso is go! And here they come up over the hill right towards us. Montoya has not got a good enough start, and neither has Raikkonen. He goes down the inside, though, of Fisichella, who goes defensive. Raikkonen up onto the rumble strips. No contact as far as I can see through the field, but Alonso leads. Montoya is 2nd, and it looks as though Fisichella is resisting Kimi Raikkonen. Down the back straight they go. Fisichella goes defensive. He can only move once. Raikkonen's going to try and take him around the outside.
Yeah, he'll not get around the outside of there, but that means with the tight line, it means Fisichella has run wide on the exit, and Raikkonen has punished him for that, and that's a critical move. Straight up to 3rd place, then to Kimi Raikkonen. That's a Ferrari that's just about to connect. Michael Schumacher just failing to connect with Fisichella, who clearly got wrong-footed down that straight. So safety car is out. There must be something on the grid, I would imagine, that didn't get away. It looked a bit thin at the back end of the field.
Pitsonia and Coulthard, we're being told, had some form of contact. They're shown last on the computer. Just saw a brief shot there of Pitsonia climbing out of his car. And, well, Fisichella wasn't able to resist Raikkonen there, was he? I think Renault would certainly have hoped he'd have been able to hold on a little bit longer than that. Let's take another look at what happened off the grid, Martin.
Yeah, it did seem a bit thin at the tail end, didn't it, after the initial runners were through. Oh, and there's the contact. It looked as though we got a Red Bull with a wheel off that went towards the crowd, in fact, and chaos down. It did seem to be a very, very big gap. And we will see, I think, on the left-hand side of the screen, it's Coulthard and the 2 Williams. So it is indeed both Williams involved in that, and David Coulthard too. So already 3 drivers out of the Grand Prix.
Coulthard's was strange. The right front tyre looked like it had flown off, but the wheel was still intact. Here's the leader's perspective on the start, and you'll see the contact any moment now. This wonderful camera shoots along the pit lane, and that is, well, we've had a few crashes into that corner. I remember back in '93, Michael Andretti hitting Gerhard Berger and flying up in the air towards that 100 board. Big spectacular crashes into that first corner, and we have a safety car situation here. Alonso leading the Grand Prix. That's Charlie Whiting, who called for the safety car. He's the race director. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Yeah, down at Williams, Mark Webber's cars come in and then caught fire in the pit box. The Williams guys straight on it with the extinguishers. Really good work by them, but it looks like something has been damaged, either the diffuser or the exhaust. It's been cracked and the car has caught fire in the pit box, but they put it out. So, well, drama down at Williams.
Looked very much like 3 into 2 doesn't go between Coulthard and the 2 Williams. It's amazing it doesn't happen more often, actually, when you watch stuff. Particularly, it's quite a bit narrower, this track, than some of the more modern facilities. So both Williams then out of the Grand Prix. Coulthard too. The double whammy is, of course, they'll have to run first in qualifying in Suzuka or in the early stages. And look at that wheel in the background, or was it just a tyre? Wheel too with that Coulthard. And there'll be a lot of flat-spotted tyres back there too with Takuma Sato. And here then is Webber, and some fire from the engine cover, I'd imagine. Wouldn't be at all surprised if there hasn't been something ingressed into the side. That is amazing. It was just a tyre on its lonesome.
There's the safety car. It's coming in at the end of this lap. We'll be green flag racing again. That is the top 8 order. But remember that the Bridgestone tyres on Michael Schumacher's Ferrari and Barrichello's Ferrari don't like these cold parade laps, are they?
Difficult to judge this now, James, because Alonso's having to back the pack up. And it's such a long way to the pit lane, he must not pass the safety car. And look, and now he'll just bolt and leave Montoya for dead. But Montoya knows about restarts from his American racing, and he's close enough. And look, Michael Schumacher under a lot of pressure from Fisichella already. There's debris down at the first corner from that incident, surely. And, Alonso locks a wheel, but Alonso's gone a little bit wide. He's just back on track for turn 2, but he'll be slow on the exit. Montoya, it's very dirty around the outside, no chance there, it's just too dirty. Now he can come up the inside, he's got more straight line speed. Surely Alonso won't fight him too hard. He's got the better line. Montoya through then to take the lead.
Fantastic pass by Juan Pablo Montoya. Puts the Colombian into the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. And off the restart, we saw Fisichella getting back past Michael Schumacher. As I was saying, the Bridgestone tyres don't like the cold temperatures that drop the tyres go to behind the safety car, and it makes the Ferrari sitting ducks off restarts. Alonso is second, and behind Montoya, Raikkonen third, Fisichella fourth, Michael Schumacher fifth, Button sixth.
Mark, what happened there?
Got a reasonable start. Obviously, Ralph was having trouble getting to the grid. I think he lost his, well, he didn't lose his engine, but he couldn't get onto the grid properly, so we were late getting to the grid spot. Obviously, everyone around me was affected as well. Got away okay. Down to the first corner, I think David and Antonio touched, obviously, and then Antonio speared into the right of me.
Further drama for you when you got the car back into the pit lane as well.
Yeah, obviously I was talking to the guys to see, obviously I knew there's bodywork damage, but I didn't know how heavy, and thought we may be able to repair it, but you just never know from the car. So we stopped there, and then of course had to jump out, and Carl said we're on fire. So
2 Toyota engine cars passing and repassing each other there. Narain Karthikeyan and Jarno Trulli. That's the battle for 12th and 13th places, and Trulli has now taken the place away from Narain Karthikeyan. Both of those cars using the Toyota V10 engine, the customer engine. Here he goes down the inside, Trulli. Started 18th on the grid, and he's making his way through the field. Nice neat pass down the inside, a little bit of a lock-up on the left. That tyre looks like it's suffered a little bit of pain already in this Grand Prix, and it's only 15 laps old. Lap 16 out of 71 here at the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos, just in the city of Sao Paulo. We're at 800 meters above sea level, and that certainly has an effect on the engine power. All the engines here losing about 8% of their horsepower, around 70 horsepower in total. So it's quite a unique race in that respect. The only Grand Prix we have in the South American continent at the moment. It's being led by a South American driver. Juan Pablo Montoya, winner here last year in a Williams, is leading here in a McLaren, ahead of Fernando Alonso, who's aiming to become the youngest ever Formula One world champion this afternoon. He needs just 6 points to clinch it. But the man who's been racing all season, Kimi Raikkonen, is third and looking very menacing, very strong, just 3 seconds behind Alonso. Fisichella, teammate to Alonso, is fourth, locked in that two-way battle between Renault and McLaren for the Constructors' Championship. And then Michael Schumacher, who, as Martin said, is really the one that I think Renault will have their eyes on. He's perhaps the only man that can take that podium away from Alonso here this afternoon. He is in 5th place, but he is a good 10 seconds behind Fernando Alonso at the moment, and not showing the sort of speed he's going to need to challenge for that podium. Jenson Button was 4th on the grid. He's dropped down to 6th. He's got Christian Klein, who was the standout performer in qualifying, right behind him in 7th in the Red Bull Racing. There's Renault, look, ready for a pit stop. This is lap 22. Which of the two drivers will it be? Well, Fisichella had to go out very early in qualifying yesterday. He will have wanted to get himself to the front of the grid. I wonder if it's him or if it's Alonso. It looks as though it's Fernando Alonso from 2nd place then. Didn't have as much fuel in the car as we thought in qualifying. Ted Kravitz.
Yeah, and let's have a look. Let's see what the guys do. They get to work fueling the first of 2 stops, remember, and there's a small adjustment, a small tyre pressure adjustment in the front tyres, just a tiny bit, just to keep him ticking over. But good stop by the Renault boys, and he's out.
That'll put a smile on the face of the McLaren team. Now we've got to wonder where he is with regard to Michael Schumacher, who's got a completely different package of Ferrari Bridgestone underneath him. This is a dangerous pit exit. It's at full speed because you've left the limit zone way early, and you do have to be careful. That's worked out okay, though. He's just going to come in front of Klein and Barrichello, so it'll minimise his traffic pain. But Alonso then the first to blink of the front runners. And, well, let's wait and see how much further McLaren can go.
So Alonso rejoins in 6th place then. He pitted from 2nd. He's the first of the big names to make his first stop here this afternoon. And he's behind Jenson Button, but in front of Klein and Barrichello. So that's an interesting move. And as you say, I think McLaren will be quite pleased to see that. Ron Dennis this morning was saying, hey, listen, Renault may have come along here with an updated aerodynamics package and a step on the engine, and they may be saying it's pushed them 3 or 4 tenths of a second a lap closer to us, but we still believe we have the fastest car in Formula One, and I think you'll find that out this afternoon. So now is the time, really. Montoya and Raikkonen leading 1-2. Fisichella pits the lap after his teammate for Renault from 3rd place.
Look like quite a lot of fuel. I wonder if they're making a tactical move there with Fisichella as Barrichello pits in the Ferrari right at the far end. It's a direct line in for them, which does help. You have to say the Michelins look beautiful on the Renault. They don't look as good on that Ferrari of Barrichello, and we hear that Ferrari could be worried about excessive tyre wear in the final stages of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, Ferrari on the Bridgestone tyre, and you can see the left front particularly of Barrichello. Look how bald that's getting. If you're paying attention when Alonso particularly made his stop, the front tyres looked almost brand new. The grooves were there, but Ferrari took a gamble here this weekend. They went with the softer Bridgestone tyre, hoping that the track would gain lots of rubber on it, and that would be kind to the tyres throughout the course of the Grand Prix. The rain overnight was not in the game plan, and that seems to have hurt the tyres, certainly the Bridgestone tyres, in the early part of this Grand Prix. That's the top 8 then. Fisichella pitted from 3rd place, and he has rejoined in 8th.
Clean pits for Red Bull.
Yeah, he had Dornbos and Montero to deal with. I think that's cost him a little bit of time, and Raikkonen was taking advantage of that. Christian Klein, hero of qualifying, and you can see it was a representative fuel load as well, wasn't it, Martin? 24 laps he went into the Grand Prix, further than Alonso, further than Fisichella. That was a terrific job by Christian Klein.
Yes, it was a genuine hot lap, wasn't it? A lot of talk they're going to change qualifying next year. I think Bernie Ecclestone's thumped the table and said, OK, you can't agree, so this is what we're doing. And that's how the circus master works, and absolutely right too. Oh, and there's a rather different approach to the braking zone there. And how close was that? So easy to do. You can catch, you only need to brake 5 minutes later, 5 meters later than the driver in front, and your closing speed can be 100 miles an hour. Michael Schumacher then pits. It's lap 27.
Yeah, that was Alonso behind one of the Minardis. Presume it was Christian Albers. Michael Schumacher pits for Ferrari. Jenson Button also pits for VAR. He was right behind Schumacher coming in. You can see the VAR mechanics. And that's Schumacher's fuel prediction as he rejoins. This time last year, Ferrari and Schumacher had it all done and dusted. Both world championships in the bag. Different story here. That is Fisichella in the Renault. They're racing for position. Out comes Michael Schumacher. Fisichella is on the outside. Schumacher on the inside. Don't cut away. What are you doing? Ralf Schumacher, fine pit stop. There's a pass going on there. Oh, and he can't make it. Fisichella couldn't get it. And Michael Schumacher is in front of Giancarlo Fisichella.
That's for a net 4th place, isn't it? That's a change for 4th place. So Schumacher looking good. His left front tyre doesn't look too handy, though, at this stage of the Grand Prix. We're not at half distance yet. So, but Michael Schumacher gets out, whether they short-filled him or whatever. Whatever he did has got him in front of Fisichella, which neutralises Fisichella to be out there helping Fernando Alonso.
And into the pits comes the race leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, on lap 28. He went further into this Grand Prix then than many people in the paddock were predicting. That's another terrific qualifying lap then by him, once you realise how much fuel he was carrying. And what about Raikkonen? He's still out there. He takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Is Montoya two-stopping? Yes, he is. That means he'll have to come in again before the end of the Grand Prix. Watch that stopwatch when Raikkonen comes in, because if we're right, anything over about 11 seconds will mean he's going to make only one stop here this afternoon, and that will put him in a very strong position. From where he is now, I'd be surprised if he did anything else, actually.
Let's wait and see. It's a lot of fuel to carry, and we've seen Alonso go out with a heavy fuel load and drop back into the 114, so he's losing 1.6 seconds per lap. So if you're always wondering why run longer, what is the advantage? Well, your car's light after the other guys just filled up, and it's costing, so for every lap that Raikkonen has run longer than Alonso, he's made about 1.6 seconds. That's enormous, an enormous amount of difference. It'll gain him over 10 seconds, of course. Raikkonen is still out there too, so I don't think they'll necessarily swap Montoya and Raikkonen over yet, unless Raikkonen's just playing faster in this next phase, until they see if Alonso's going to take the World Championship anyway with P3. I think they'll just let Montoya carry on and win the Grand Prix.
And McLaren ready now on lap 31 for Kimi Raikkonen. Quite a lot of drivers having little lockups there. Villeneuve in front of Kimi Raikkonen there, having a lockup into the Junção corner. But there is the race leader on lap 31 coming in. And the big question is, how much fuel is he going to put in this thing?
Yeah, as the tyres wear down, they lose temperature, because the temperature's generated from the rubber moving around with the friction. And that's why they start to lock up as the race unfolds. And you have to be so careful coming into your pit box like that, not to snatch a wheel. Always tends to be very slippery, more of a concrete surface there. The tyres looking okay, a lot of rubber debris falling into the grooves. Front brakes, extremely hot. I was also interested to see Montoya, when he locked a brake early on, his rear brakes are actually glowing red too. So running a lot of rear bias, and usually to try and stop some of that. And Montoya has maintained the lead, hasn't he? Was that Montoya went through there? Now that surprises me, because Raikkonen was putting in such incredible laps, but Montoya does indeed retain the lead of the Grand Prix.
Well, that's a very, very interesting thing. The stat there said that he put 30 laps of the fuel in, but there's only 40 to go in the Grand Prix. So does that mean he's going to come and pit 10 laps before the end? Maybe that's the strategy. Maybe the stopwatch misread it. Maybe the nozzle wasn't quite on in time. But certainly it didn't look like enough fuel to take him to the finish of this Grand Prix. McLaren then doing something a little bit different. Montoya is back in front, much to the delight of the 6,000 Colombians here. McLaren aiming to be the first team in a proper Grand Prix this season to get a 1-2 finish. Long way to go yet, though. Alonso is in 3rd place. If he finishes there, he's the new world champion, and he'd be the youngest world champion ever as well, at 24 years 158 days. He would beat Emerson Fittipaldi's record by well over a year. It's pretty inevitable anyway, given that we've got 2 Grand Prix left in this season, but all Alonso needs to do is to finish in 3rd place, and because of that, that means we've got a real genuine race at the front between the 2 McLarens, Montoya and Raikkonen, because there's no point in Montoya letting Raikkonen through. It won't make any difference to the championship as things stand. So those 2 are racing each other. Michael Schumacher is the danger man as far as Alonso is concerned. He was quite quick earlier on. His pace has dropped off a little bit, but he's in 4th place, and Fisichella is 5th. Villeneuve comes in for his first stop of the Grand Prix on lap 35. And the only man then who has not stopped is Takuma Sato, who started from the back of the grid, having taken an engine penalty. He obviously filled that car up with fuel. He's currently running in 6th place at the moment. Those are the gaps you can see. Michael Schumacher is almost 20 seconds up the road from Jenson Button. And remember, Button started 4th on the grid. Michael Schumacher was 7th, so it's quite a comprehensive turnover by Ferrari and Schumacher here this afternoon on BAR Honda.
Yeah, FCBR are flattered to deceive a bit in qualifying lately, haven't they? They just haven't had the race, the raw race pace. But we know they've got a pretty strong engine in there. So clearly they've got a bit of work to do on their race setup, race strategy as such. Montoya's lead maintained at 2 seconds. And Alonso, they all did the same time. The 3 leaders did exactly the same time, 1 minute 13.7. Michael Schumacher still handy on a 1:13.8. But Alonso surely has got it where he needs it. He's 16 seconds ahead of 4th place man Schumacher, and he's got what he needs at the moment.
I know the teams and drivers always use the gap between themselves and the leaders, the great barometer of their paces. Takuma Sato pits from 6th place, and this will drop him back. There's a big train of cars just going through. That's his bad luck. He's going to come in right at the back of them, behind Ralf Schumacher. He'll be somewhere near Jarno Trulli, I believe, when he comes out, and that's 11th place. Takuma Sato will rejoin around there. Trulli goes through now. Lap 43 of the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos. James Allen and Martin Brundle with you, Louise Goodman and Ted Kravitz in the pits, and this is the scrap between the BAR of Jenson Button and the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. It's a battle for 6th place. It's the closest battle really amongst the front runners on the field so far. It's a points-paying battle as well, of course. Jenson Button going for his 8th consecutive points finish, so BAR looking strong in that sense, keeping the scoreboard ticking over, but the pace hasn't really been there for either BAR or Ferrari relative to the front runners. Montoya, you can see, is leading the Grand Prix from Raikkonen, and Montoya's having a really strong close to the season because he won the British Grand Prix, he won in Monza, and then in Spa he was leading, but obviously played a tactical game and allowed his teammate Raikkonen through to win. Here again in Brazil, for the 3rd race in a row then, he has been the stronger of the 2 McLaren drivers, but because he's not the championship contender, obviously he's had to give the wins away. But as things stand, Fernando Alonso is currently in 3rd place. There's his Renault team watching this Grand Prix, and Alonso, if he can stay where he is just 28 laps away from becoming the new world champion, regardless of what Montoya and Raikkonen may do at the front.
Montoya's lead up to 3.1 seconds. Alonso he's got it back a little bit. He's just 8.4 behind 2nd place man Raikkonen. He's keeping a nice distance back to Michael Schumacher. Fisichella really could... Oh, that looks a bit close, doesn't it? Is that Button and Barrichello? I think it must be. I would imagine it is indeed. So I would imagine Jenson got caught down the pit straight, and Rubens got himself a... here we go. Yeah, caught at the end of the pit straight. Rubens later on the brakes has stuck one up the inside, just about run into Jenson, gives him a squeeze to put him offline and takes the place. So Jenson falling further down the field, as is clean in 8th place.
Here's the world champion-elect then, Fernando Alonso. From 3rd place then, he pits. He's got an 18-second margin over Michael Schumacher. That will not be enough for him to rejoin in front of the Ferrari, but obviously he will take the place back when Schumacher pits. The tyres looking pretty good.
He's so calm, Alonso. Pat Simmons was saying that, wasn't he, in the press conference, that he's got such a mature head on him. And you know, He didn't go and attack the speed line, he didn't blip the engine at the pit stop there, just total professional maturity, which is what's got in this far in the World Championship.
Yep, he rejoins fifth then, behind Michael Schumacher's Ferrari there you can see, and his teammate Giancarlo Fisichella in front of him, so Alonso fifth. Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the thing that is just so amazing about Alonso when you talk to him is you forget that he's only just turned 24. You feel like you're talking to a much, much older person. He's very calm, he's extremely intelligent, and well, what a career he's had. It's been a pretty meteoric rise through the ranks to Formula One. He first started driving when he was 3 years old. His father bought a go-kart for his sister, who was 4 years older, and she didn't fancy it, didn't enjoy it really, so she said no, not bothered. Fernando, the 3-year-old, was saying, hey, adapt it for me. So they put wooden blocks on the pedals, they put a cushion on the seat, and Alonso started driving around the garden in Oviedo, in the Asturias region of northern Spain, and he had the bug from that very young age. Started racing go-karts when he was 7, and by the age of 16 he was the world kart champion, and from then on Flavio Briatore picked him up, brought him into Formula One, and now he's on his way to becoming the youngest ever world champion. His teammate Fisichella pits.
See, what I think is especially telling is Fisichella here. He's a handy peddler, and has won this race before in bizarre circumstances with Jordan. He's 70 points behind Alonso in the championship at the start of today, and in this race he's already 20 seconds behind him. I think that's a gauge of just what a good job Fernando Alonso's doing. Oh, that's what I was talking about earlier. It's so easy to snatch a front wheel later on in the race when you've got the tyre where you can see his right front. It's sort of smeared the rubber all over the grooves, hasn't it?
Wouldn't have wanted to be the front jack man then when he started sliding towards him. And he's been hit before by Michael Schumacher a couple of years ago. It does happen. Obviously the drivers take every precaution as they come into the pits, but they're racing, and particularly Barrichello, as you say, it's the first time really in this Grand Prix. Now he's got some clear air, but he was putting in faster lap times than his teammate Michael Schumacher, and that's kind of what we would have expected really, because right up to yesterday's qualifying session Barrichello was the faster of the two Ferrari drivers, but he had a problem in qualifying yesterday, and he was very unhappy about it, wasn't he, Martin? He was after saying totally unacceptable that the team had got the tyre pressures wrong for him on his run, and the car basically just couldn't balance it. So although he'd been quicker than Schumacher through practice, slower than him in qualifying. Montoya exits the pits then. He is in a straight fight with his teammate.
Michael Schumacher's second stop of the afternoon looks to have gone very well. Renault will be keeping a close eye on that. They've got to keep him at bay. Alonso with his third place, enough to take the championship. Michael seems to be about the only guy who could spoil that for him today. And, well, he's been quite racy in that Ferrari, no doubt about it. One of their stronger performances for a good while.
So there goes Michael Schumacher back on track. And he is back down into fourth place now, giving that third place back to Alonso. Jenson Button pits from sixth.
Just a little bit slow away there for Jenson. Seems as if it had a lot of traction control. Just didn't want to pick up, did it?
McLarens have been the faster car here this afternoon, although Renault have brought along an improved package of aerodynamics and engine. It's not been enough to get them on McLaren's pace. McLaren have the speed here. Alonso 25 seconds behind Juan Montoya at this stage of the Grand Prix.
Well, Kimmy's made some time, about 0.8 of a second per lap, so it's going to be quite close. I'd be surprised if he's done enough to get ahead of Montoya on this pit stop. We'll find out shortly. Ted's down there.
No, there's no way he's done enough. You need about 16 seconds plus the stop time. And Martin, it is a very quick stop because we saw that Kimi did a long middle stint, but surely that's not enough. As you say, it's immaterial because Alonso safely in third at the moment. But
well, Ted coming out now. Sorry to interrupt you, but they're side by side as they come down. It looks to me as though Montoya has got the lead. Raikkonen up to speed on the inside, Montoya on the left, Raikkonen on the right, and Montoya has done enough in these laps to maintain his advantage. Raikkonen will get that sinking feeling, little twitch from him there at the apex of Lake Descent corner, a frustration possibly, who knows, but Montoya has been the stronger driver here this afternoon, and well, as long as Alonso's sitting there in third place, which means he's world champion anyway, there's no reason for McLaren to do anything with the order of these two cars, and that will mean that for the second year running, if he can maintain this, Montoya will head home Raikkonen. Flavio Briatore goes into the garage, perhaps he just can't take it anymore.
We understand Flavio's off for a comfort break down there. He's been here before, of course, hasn't he? Michael Schumacher taking 2 world championships for him at Benetton.
Steve Nielsen there, the team manager of Renault, just looking up at the sky to see if we're going to get a little bit of rain. A little twist in the tail here at Interlagos. Just over his shoulder was Pat Symonds, who personally I'm most happy about his role in all of this. He was one of the dream team with Rory Byrne and Ross Brawn and Michael Schumacher that won those titles in the mid-90s. They all cleared off, got the big bucks at Ferrari and won many world championships. Now it's Pat's turn. And, well, certainly as far as the Drivers' Championship is concerned, he's going to bring another young man through, and Pat Symonds has done so much for Michael Schumacher and so much for bringing along Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Pat stuck with it, and now he's getting his rewards. Ross and Rory went off and earned a lot of money with a lot of success, and they deserved that, but now Pat's going to get what he deserves very much again. So Montoya's lead 1.7, but that's pretty academic really. They've definitely backed off to save the motors to secure a first and second place, and Alonso has also now moved back into the 1-minute 14s, and he's also just coasting towards the end of this Grand Prix, and surely a world championship.
Absolutely. Michael Schumacher in fourth. Ferrari will be encouraged that they've been able to turn it round from not looking all that great on Friday to being the third fastest package here this weekend on the Bridgestone tyre, and Jenson Button will similarly be discouraged. I think that his BAR package has gone from being third fastest to being fourth fastest behind the Ferrari. Once again, the BAR not having the race pace. He is a lap down on the McLarens as we work the last few laps of this historic Grand Prix. An overused word in sport, but this genuinely is a historic Grand Prix, because this young man here at 24 years and 58 days is about to give a new mark for the youngest ever world championship. And interestingly, Emerson Fittipaldi was sought out for a quote about Alonso, and he said, "I have huge respect for Alonso. He's a great talent. The record that I've held for so long, since 1972, as the youngest ever world champion, will be in safe hands with him." You can get no higher tribute from no greater a driver than Emerson Fittipaldi.
There is Kimi Raikkonen resting his head against the side of the car at every opportunity, with an extra pad in there too, so he was expecting a problem. And we're on lap 70.
Just 2 to go then. They've lapped everybody up to 6th place. Rubens Barrichello, he's the last man on the lead lap. That gives you some indication of just how quick these McLarens have been, but I want to say hats off to Juan Pablo Montoya. He was saying earlier in the weekend, it's sad really that at the last 4 races I've been as strong, if not stronger, than Kimi, but I've just had to help him, obviously, from a championship perspective. Here this weekend with Alonso in 3rd place, nothing they can do. So Montoya's been allowed to run his race, and he's beaten Kimi Raikkonen, and that is great news for anybody who loves Grand Prix racing, because that means these two are clearly very well matched teammates, and for the next few years it's going to be some fantastic fireworks as these two race each other. Take on Alonso, maybe hopefully a resurgent Michael Schumacher and Ferrari next year. Well, the McLaren boys look happy. 2 miles away now from a 1-2 finish.
Button was just 0.8 of a second ahead of Ralf Schumacher for 7th and 8th. That one's going to go down to the wire. This one is not. Montoya with it comfortably in the bag.
And doesn't he deserve it? Bouncing back from that broken shoulder blade back in April. His comeback in Spain was too early. He suffered a lot of pain, but he got his first victory for the McLaren team at Silverstone in July. He backed that up with a win at Monza. McLaren have won 5 of the last 6 Grand Prix. And Montoya is going to come through and head home Kimi Raikkonen, whose neck is going to be very sore at the end of this Grand Prix. 30 years old, with a huge contingent of local fans. Juan Pablo Montoya puts one over on Kimi Raikkonen. He wins the Brazilian Grand Prix, his 7th career victory. Kimi Raikkonen is happy with 2nd place. It's Montoya's 3rd victory this season. Where's the new world champion? Here he is, coming up the hill out of Yuncao corner. He can more or less push it home now. Fernando Alonso will cross the line to become the youngest ever Formula One world champion. Well done, Fernando Alonso!
What a feeling that must be. I wonder how he's going to be on the podium. Is he going to be calm and collected as he's been at all times? Is he going to cry a bit? There's some stuff coming on the track from the crowd, I think, celebrating there. Brilliant, brilliant achievement by Fernando Alonso. So, yeah, it's brilliant.
I'm almost in tears for him. He's such a super guy. He really, really is. Fantastic, fantastic talent. Him, Raikkonen, Montoya, the future of Formula One is in such strong hands. Jenson Button as well has to go into that mix. Michael Schumacher, though, I'm sure he'll bounce back strong next year, but the gauntlet has definitely passed on. The new generation is taking over. We have a new world champion for the first time since 1999. It's not Michael Schumacher, it's Fernando Alonso.
Button kept a place for 7th, Ralf Schumacher 8th, so it reads Montoya, Raikkonen, Alonso 3rd, Michael Schumacher with a solid drive in 4th, Fisichella in the sister Renault 5th, Barrichello for Ferrari 6th, Button 7th, Ralf Schumacher 8th.
Behold, the new world champion.
He even remembered to put his steering wheel back on. Amazing. That's the rules. You'd think he'd just throw it away at this point.
What a great champion! What a great sporting spectacle! What joy! What release! Fernando Alonso.
Now he's got to go and be weighed, complete with helmet, and so they can check the overall weight of that car in Parc Fermé.
So the podium celebrations will come along. There's big celebrations here with Alonso and the Renault team. Let's not forget the winner of this Grand Prix, Montoya. He's beaten his teammate, a healthy handshake between the two.
Roll over Michael Schumacher. Welcome to the new champion. We'll be back talking to the record breaker. Tony Jardine will have his say on the day when the boy racer became champion of the world. Brazil acclaims Fernando Alonso, champion of the world. A hug from teammate Fisichella, who supported him well today. The emotions flow. Cuddle to the 3rd place trophy. He is #1 in the world, though. So a 1-2 here for Montoya and Raikkonen for McLaren. They're first in 5 years. 3rd equals the title for Alonso. Michael Schumacher 4th in the Ferrari. Then Fisichella 5th. Barrichello, hometown boy, 6th. Button lapped in 7th place. Ralf Schumacher making his point. Disappointing day for Toyota, though. The drivers' standings: 117 plays 94, just 20 points available now from Japan and China. That is why he is the champion. Montoya and Schumacher neck and neck. They'll go at it hammer and tongs in Japan and China. Then Fisichella just ahead of Trulli. Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher level pegging Button and Webber. Let us hear from the new world champion.
So at any point in the race, did you allow yourself the luxury of starting to think, I'm the new world champion?
No, I think when I crossed the line, because basically the last 5 or 6 laps I was hearing noise from the car from everywhere, because you are a little bit worried about the engine, the gearbox, everything, so I was a little bit worried.
What were the team saying to you on the radio as you crossed the line?
You are the world champion, you are the best, and I answered exactly the same.
He's another Prost. You know, he's got a lot of talent and he's quite clever as well. thinks things through, so we haven't seen the last of him as a world champion. Going to win a lot of championships.
We've got to say well done to Fernando, our new world champion. He's done a great job this season.
Well, Paul, you gave this unknown Spanish kid, Fernando Alonso, his break in Formula One. What a special moment for you, though, mate.
Fantastic moment. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He's going to be a great world champion and a great ambassador for the sport. And I tell you what, shows the value of teams like Minardi.
Flavio, a moving moment for you.
Yeah, much better now. And not the start of the race, this is sure. Great, you know, after 4 years, winning a championship is great.
Well, I think it's great that we have Alonso as a world champion. I hope he doesn't change. The champions always change, and I hope when I will be world champion, I won't change. That's a promise.
Pat Symonds joins me, company man for what, 24 years. One of the better days at work this for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a long while. We've worked hard. It's been a long while since our last championship, 10 years. So we're certainly enjoying the day today.
What are the qualities that make this team special?
Well, I think there are so many. You know, there's a very high engineering standard. There's a very high personal standard. But I think one of the things that keeps me motivated is we're lateral thinkers. You know, you put a problem in front of us and we turn it into a challenge.
People will say, how did they do that with about the 5th biggest budget and with McLaren having the faster car for a big chunk of the season?
Yeah, it's certainly not easy. It's very hard racing someone when you know that their car is faster. But, you know, Formula One is a team sport. And I think what we're showing is that a team can win. And it's a tribute not just to everyone here, but of course everyone back in England and in France.
And a lot of your factory force watching back in Enstone, I know. I wonder what the emotions were like there when Fernando Alonso came in 3rd place, and third, there it is, equaled a very big first for you and Fernando.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope they enjoyed it as much as we did, because we...
That fellow enjoyed it, Flavio.
Flavio always enjoys it. Again, one of the nice things about working here.
And just talk to us about the young man, Fernando Alonso. When did you realise he had this special talent?
Well, you know, it can sound a bit glib sometimes, but it really was from the time we first tested him, which was quite a long while ago now. We were able on that first day to see that, yeah, he really was something a little bit different. Now, you don't always know how that's going to translate into a racing driver, but I think as we got to know him, as he became our test driver, we saw that actually there was a lot of intelligence and a lot of racecraft, and we could see it quite early on.
What was said on the car radio after he went past the flag?
Do you know, I can't even remember now. I think he was mildly excited.
Now, you're mildly excited about the Constructors' Championship as well, aren't you? And you are very, very keen to beat McLaren on this. But if you look at that, there's plenty to play for the last couple of races.
Yeah, there is. We said it was going to go to the end. It was going to be tight. It is, and it's going to come down to reliability. But we can do it. We're not giving up. And, of course, having got one championship out of the way, maybe we can... focus a little bit on how we go racing to get the other one.
Enjoy the day. We'll see you in Japan.
Thanks very much.
Tony, that'll be some scrap for that title in Japan and China.
Well, McLaren want it badly. They've got out world constructors already, but they have been eating into Renault on an average of 2 points per race. So it looks like it could go down to the wire in China.
The pole sitter rarely profits here at Interlagos. At least Alonso got away and avoided the mayhem behind him.
Yeah, great start from Alonso. Juan Pablo Montoya, we thought he'd challenge. He couldn't. It was Kimi Raikkonen challenging Fisichella on the inside, but he got squeezed up onto the curb on the inside. Got away. Look at this going on behind. The two Williamses there. In the middle of them, David Coulthard. Pizzoni went across and took out the innocent party, Mark Webber, in the other Williams. Of course, David Coulthard retired as well. Further round the lap, back, Fisichella still trying to resist. And Kimi Raikkonen goes through on the inside on turn 3 there and got up into 3rd place.
So there we are. Then there's Raikkonen taking Fisichella. Then Montoya took Alonso after the restart, underlining the difference between the machines.
Yeah, and incredible the way they carried more fuel than McLaren's. They were so fast, but it was here. Look how wide that Alonso ran down there, through the center S, alongside. And this, of course, is the scene in 2001 where Juan Pablo Montoya went past Michael Schumacher. He's got all the speed, slipstreaming him down there through the Curva del Sol. We thought they were going to really tough it out down there but he just slipped inside and took the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Pragmatic Fernando Alonso. It was between Raikkonen and Montoya for the victory here. Raikkonen really suffering with his neck, wasn't he? And then a crucial pit stop, and Juan Pablo ended up in front of it.
Yeah, but again, we weren't sure whether this could have been the challenge as well, but look at him just resting there because all the turns are going the left-hand side, one of only 3 circuits going up to the final pit stop there. Could he get out? And there it was, neck and neck, as Kimi Raikkonen goes down the pit lane and down that little winding road, down through Curva del Sol as well. But it's Juan Pablo who just stayed ahead. You'd have to question Kimi's fitness there as well. And I don't think the Finns like left-hand turns.
Absolutely, and Juan Pablo winning what's the Grand Prix closest to his home in Colombia. A nice little cameo in the race between the guys who will be teammates next season, Messrs. Button and Barrichello.
Well, we talked about their driving styles before the race and how close they will be next year. This is a test of the teammates for next year, and it was Rubens Barrichello that got ahead, and it was in fact a bit of a slide there for Rubens going inside the center S, and they nearly touch. But I spoke to Button before. He was really struggling with graining rear tyres. He had understeer the start and then snapping into oversteer.
It is, though, Fernando Alonso's day, Tony.
Absolutely superb. It's not just he's the youngest everything, he's so dedicated from such an early age. This kid went off karting alone, home alone in Italy. He still lives alone in Oxford, dedicated to his job. He thought he was just going to be a go-kart mechanic. Now he's world champion, the youngest ever. And Emerson Fittipaldi in his era was brilliant at 25. This man is going to be a legend.
And his team absolutely love him. Let us get your team report now from James Allen.
Ferrari scoring a valuable 8 points to keep Toyota at bay in the Constructors' Championship. BAR Honda, 8th consecutive points finish for Button, but a second a lap off the pace in the Grand Prix. Great joy at Renault for Alonso, but they lose control of the Constructors' Championship for the first time this season. Terrible race for Williams, both drivers hitting each other on the run down to the first corner. McLaren, a dominant 1-2 here. They look good for the Constructors' title now, I think, having taken a 2-point lead after this Grand Prix. Sauber, great battle between their 2 drivers over 11th place, Massa winning that one. Red Bull Racing, Christian Klien outstanding in qualifying, unlucky not to get a point here in the Grand Prix. Toyota, well, they had a problem with Trulli on the engine which compromised him, but Ralf Schumacher picked up a point. Jordan, well, Thiago Monteiro, unlucky not to get his 17th consecutive race finish. A drive shaft failure put paid to that, and Robert Dornbos had an engine failure. But no doubt at all about who the hero is today. Fernando Alonso, the amateur magician. No doubt he'll be making a few drinks disappear tonight.
Thank you very much indeed, James. Coming up next, it is Motorsport UK from Knockhill, the Porsche Cup and Formula BMW. For us, next stop, Japan. Our qualifying coverage, midnight on the Saturday. We go live from Suzuka, 5:30 on Sunday morning. The Japanese Grand Prix rerun, that is at 2 on Sunday afternoon. The highlights are at midnight. He is a man in a hurry who has taken over from a legend. The Fernando Alonso era starts right here. Good night.